Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you all for session 7 and 8 of the Faculty Development Program on Responsible AI, organized by PSG College of Technology, Coimbatore, and sponsored by AICT ATAL. Let us begin with a thoughtful quote of John Dewey today. Education is not preparation of life. Education is life itself. This quote beautifully captures the essence of lifelong learning and its significance in shaping our actions and decisions. It's a great honor to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Piyush Viral, Assistant Vice, I'm sorry, from IIT Madras. So let me start with his working experience. As a teaching fellow of grade B and a course instructor at IIT Madras, he has educated students on AI, data science, and related technologies. He has conducted live sessions for courses on database management system, mathematics for data science, software engineering, computational thinking, privacy and security on social media. He has also developed course materials and assessments for enhancing student learning outcomes. And also for the course of data analysis, he has done course assessment to enhance their performance. He is also an instructor at AWS Academy. He's certified point of contact for AWS Academy, delivering the training on cloud-based AI solutions. He's also educator at Microsoft Learn for Educator. He has conducted various workshops for Microsoft Azure certification exams with a focus on AI-driven cloud solution. He has trained over 1,000 students for Microsoft certifications. Worth mentioning are AI 900, DP 900, and DP 203. And he has also conducted various workshops on NPTEL platform. Worth mentioning and very popular are fundamentals of natural language processing using Azure, fundamentals of computer vision using Azure, introduction to data engineering using Azure, cricket data analysis using Postgres SQL. So it's we are very happy to have you for today's session for 7th and 8th. And over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for such a great introduction. Yeah, I hope I'm audible, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, great. Yeah. So, hello everyone. I'm Piyush Vairade. I'm currently working as a course instructor at IIT Madras PhD degree. So, in the responsible AI workshop, I think this is the seventh session. So, you must have know about the principles that we have learned in responsible AI and all the other things, right? In the before sessions. So in this particular two sessions, we are trying to understand the AI governance part, right? So how it is evolved, what are the acts around that, and what is the necessity of this rules and regulation. And we'll be focusing on European AI Act. Okay. And the reason behind that we are going to discuss. So let me present my screen now.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes.
visible.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So So the topic of this today's session of both the sessions is what decoding the European AI Act and implication for ethical AI in India. So before decoding the European AI Act, let's try to understand what we are going to discuss in today's workshop, right? So when I say decoding the European AI Act, so basically what we are trying to do, we are trying to break down these rules and regulations. We are trying to understand the policies in a simplified manner. Okay, what is there inside the European AI Act? Now, what is implications here? So it means that we are trying to understand what are the potential effect, consequences, or we can say relevance of this European AI Act in different contexts, also in the context of India. Okay, so how we can implement this in India, or what is the impact of this European AI Act on India? We are trying to discuss that. Okay, but we should know what is ethical AI first, because for that purpose only we are keeping the these rules and regulation, right? And when I talk about ethical AI, so basically it means that whatever the system that we are going to generate, that is AI system, right? It must follow the principles of responsible AI. So when I talk about the ethical AI, it must adhere to principle of responsible AI here. Okay. So we'll be discussing the principles of responsible AI. I know like you already have gone through these principles. Let's try to quickly overview of those, and we'll discuss that also, right? And if I talk about the responsible AI, the main part is what? Explainability. Okay. So we are going to focus on explainable AI as well. So first we'll try to understand what is this responsible AI, the principle of that, then explainable AI, and how organizations are implementing this particular thing in their like what are the services that they are offering. Okay, so we are trying to understand one example. and then we are going to discuss about the act and policies around that. Okay. So we have divided this workshop in two sessions. So the agenda for today's workshop is in session 1 and session 2. So in the session 1, we are going to discuss about what is responsible AI, then the principles behind the responsible AI, what is explainable AI, and then the techniques in explainable AI. So this will be the part of the session 1. Then we will have some few 5-minute or 10-minute break, and then we will move on to a session number 2. Now here we are going to decode the European AI Act and how it can be implemented, then how it is applicable to India. So this is what we are going to discuss, and what India is doing in terms of this AI policy and governance part. So we'll be discussing that, and how we can implement a framework similar to the European Act in India. So this is the outline for today's workshop. Okay, so both the sessions, and we'll have some 5-minute break in between. Now let's try to discuss about the first topic, that is responsible AI, right? So you must have seen this news just 3-4 months back in October. Here you can see, right? A 14-year-old US teen falls in love with the AI chatbot, shoot himself to come home to her, right? So nowadays, lot of such news are coming, right? So what these AI systems are capable now, they are trying to manipulate the behavior of an individual, right? So manipulating the behavior of an individual, right? So that's what this chatbot has done, right? So who is responsible for this? Are the organizations, or the developers, or the users, or the government, right? Who is accountable for that? We don't have a specific answer. No one is going to take the accountability for this, right? Also, we don't know why this AI chatbot has given such answer. Why? What is the logic behind this, right? So we want to understand why this AI chatbot has given such answer, or what is the response from this chatbot that result into the behavior, or like manipulation of the behavior of this particular student, or I can say individual, right? So we are trying to understand this particular thing, right? Also, if you see the latest news in just November month, Google Gemini turns villain. AI asks users to die, call himself waste of time and burden on society, right? So one student who is trying to take a help from a Gemini for its assignment purpose. So what this Gemini tells him, go and die. You are the simply waste of time, burden on society. Again, who is responsible for here? Google, or the developers, or the government, or the users, right? So this is what the accountability issue. Accountability. Again, why this Gemini has answered such thing? Why this Gemini has given this response? So how it generate the response, and then we should know, right? Why they are giving this such response. So again, the part of explainable AI comes into a picture, right? So as of now, there are no rules to such scenarios, right? Who is going to be accountable? What we should do that such that next time it should not happen, right? So for that purpose, we should have some rules and regulation, right? So that is what we are going to discuss in today's session. Again, a basic classic example, a self-driving car here, right? Self-driving car, but it's an accident. Again, who is responsible? A company, a car owner, or a person walking on the road, right? So who is accountable for this? Again, we are thinking why this decision has been made by this self-driving car. So this is what the ethical AI is. Okay, so all the AI system should not do such things, right? So we are like, we should be careful, and we should follow some principles of responsible AI. And if someone is not following, the organization is not following, then what are the rules, what are the regulation, what are the fine corresponding to that? We'll discuss that. Okay, so this is the context, like why these principles are came. What is responsible AI? What is ethical AI? Right. So let's try to understand first what is this responsible AI. Right. So simple. It is a way of developing, using, and deploying the AI system that are ethical, technically proficient, and socially beneficial. So simple as name suggests, responsible AI, right? But how we can ensure that our system, our AI system is responsible, following the principles of responsible AI? So for that purpose, we have few principles of that, right? So here we are going to discuss about the principles of responsible AI. Okay, so by the way, if anyone has any question, you can simply raise your hand or you can unmute, you can ask. Okay, no issue. Any point of time. Okay. So let's try to understand the principle. So when we talk about the fairness here, so what is this fairness? Right? When it comes to a picture, we'll discuss that reliability and safety part, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. So there are basic 6 principles, but we'll be discussing few more also in this particular session. Okay. So let's talk about the fairness part first, right? So what is this fairness thing here? So AI system should be fair from biasness and ensure equitable treatment for all users, regardless of their race, gender, age, or economic status. Like if you have used the chat GPT and if you ask some question like uh, my name is Piyush. What profession should I pursue, doctor or nursing? Then accordingly, what previously that what ChatGPT used to answer, okay, doctor. If I simply change the name to a female, then it will give us nursing, right? So that is a biasness in the behavior of that ChatGPT, right? I think in the previous session, if you have come across this example, so same thing, right? So there's a biasness in the AI model, right? Because the data on which it get trained that already has some biases in that, right? So how to deal with such things? So this is a fairness issue. Our AI system should be fair enough. Okay. And if I give the one example here you can see a hiring algorithm unintentionally favors a male applicant. Nowadays, what companies are doing, they are using this AI-based scanning process. So once we upload our resume on their platform, this AI algorithm will scan our resume and then they will decide which resume to accept or reject, right? But also there can be biasness also, right, in the application, like in this model, because it was trained on historical data where males were predominantly hired. Against a gender bias thing is there, right? So this should not be happening, right? When we talk about the responsible AI thing. So how to deal with such issues? So for that purpose, what we need to do? We need to regularly auditing the training data. So we need to keep a track on which data this particular model is getting trained. Whether do we have an equal representation of all the things in that data? So we should ensure the diverse data representation here. Okay. And also model to identify and mitigate the biases. So we will try to reduce this biases if possible, right? So as far as possible, we will try to reduce this such biasness based on any thing, race, gender, age, or socio-economic status. So this is about the fairness part. And here comes the concept of fair AI. Simple. Now, accountability. We have discussed few examples before. Who is accountable for such issues? Same thing here as well. So organizations, individual should take the responsibility for the outcomes of the AI system, right? And intended consequences. Yeah. Including the unintended consequences, right? So there should be some mechanism should be there to solve such grievances, right? So if I talk about the lack of accountability, same example, a self-driving car causes an accident, but no entity takes the responsibility. Who is accountable for this, right? So what we need to do, the company that was implementing the AI ensures clear accountability mechanism and conduct rigorous testing before the they put into the market. So whatever the system or manufacturer of that product, they should do a rigorous testing before putting into a market and provides a channel for addressing grievances. So previously this was not there. Unless we put rules and regulation on the companies, they are not going to do this, right? So that's how the concept of this regulation and policy came, right? So this is about accountability part. Now again, transparency. So here you can see transparency. AI system should be understandable to users, stakeholder with clear explanation for their decision that they made. So I wanted to know the reason why my application got rejected. Okay, if I'm applying for any company and they have rejected my resume, so I wanted to know the reason why it got rejected. I wanted to know what are the factors corresponding to that and how I can improve that in the next process. Okay, if I upload the same resume again it will get rejected just because of that particular system, right? So that is what the opaque AI is. And if we talk about the example here, a credit scoring system denies a loan but doesn't explain the reason. Same in the case of a credit scoring system as well. I wanted to know the reason, which factor is responsible for that. Okay. And how this responsible AI can bring transparency by providing a detailed explanation, such as your credit history shows a mispayment which affect your score. At least you give me this information. Okay, this credit history showed mispayment. That's why your application got rejected. So AI system must be transparent. And if you see this transparency, it deals with what? Explainable AI. Okay, so it deals with what? Explainable AI. So if we follow the technique that is given in explainable AI, we can bring some transparency here. Okay, so we'll discuss all those things. Privacy, a big issue. So that's why this entire European AI hack has came. So when I talk about the privacy, European Union has something called GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation Act. Okay, first European Union was the one who come with this Data Protection Act, and now later this act was implemented in 100 plus countries. And that's why we say that European Union has a, like, whatever they do, it has a global impact in terms of regulation, right? So same happens in the case of privacy, right? So AI system must respect user privacy and ensure data is handled securely and ethically. Nowadays, if we see in our mobile, we have different AI based app, right? They are using our fingerprint, facial recognition, but how they are using our data, right? Are the model is getting trained on our data? Do we have some mechanism to track that? Can I unlearn that particular model if they are learning from my data? Right? So all this question comes into a picture, and that's why this privacy issue is there. So here you can see a privacy violation example. An AI-powered app collects and sells user data without consent. How should I know that this AI system is collecting my data? How I can know that they are selling my data, right? So here comes the responsible AI again, implementing strict data protection measures, anonymizing data, and obtaining user consent before data collection. So if I talk about GDPR Act, in the Article 17 deals with right to forgotten. Okay, so right to forgotten. When this GDPR Act came in Europe, what Facebook has done, they have developed one feature in their app so user can know what data they have collected. Okay, Facebook is collecting a data starting from your SMS or even your battery percentage, they are collecting your data. So what Facebook has done, they have given one feature so that we can view what data they are collecting about us. And there is also option to erase that data from the database. So this thing should happen. And this thing came when GDPR comes into a picture, right? So right to forgotten. Same thing. So we are talking about the data privacy law here, but in terms of AI, is a model can unlearn from the data on which, like from our data, if model gets trained, can that model unlearn themselves? Can they model forget whatever the data they have collected about us? So there is a big question, right? Do company even knows how to do that? That is also a big question, right? So companies are not thinking as of now, because if there are no rules and regulations, right? So this is what the privacy comes into a picture. So safety and security, like privacy, safety, security is a same thing here, right? So AI system should be robust and resilient and designed to avoid harm and withstand the attacks here. So like in the case of self-driving car, so the example for unsafe AI will be AI, a facial recognition system, incorrectly identifies individual, leading to a wrongful arrest. So nowadays we use this AI system to track the, like, to traffic control purpose, right? So if any vehicle breaking the rule or signal, so we generally scan their numbers, whatever the number we have, we scan and then we send the challan, right? So AI based automatic challan is there nowadays, right? But what if that particular system has made an error and sends the challan to a wrong individual, right? So there should be some mechanism for that, right? So what is responsible AI tell us? There should be thorough testing the system in real world scenarios to minimize the errors and enhance security against tampering, right? So this is what the safety and security is. Now, what is inclusiveness? So here we are talking about the inclusiveness, right? So AI should be designed to accommodate the needs of all users, especially from underrepresented or marginalized groups. So whatever the data we have as of now, the data got generated by the users who are using some applications, right? What if individual is not using any social media or not online, is not present on our internet, right? Not using any app. So his data or his view is not present in that data set, right? So how the AI system is going to keep a track of all those things? So we should accommodate the need of all the users here, especially from underrepresented or marginalized group, where the data is less and we cannot train the AI model because of having the less data, right? So we should uh, include all the people into this particular AI systems. It should be so AI system should be accommodate all the types of users, right? For example, exclusive AI. So voice assistant that struggle to recognize a diverse accent. Yeah, like sometimes if I use any voice assistant based like AI based chatbot, if I try to speak in Hindi, so maybe my accent is different from the person from Mumbai, Pune, right? So that chatbot should be able to recognize a diverse accent as well. Okay, also a multilingual thing as well. So that is what exclusive AI. But how does responsible AI comes into a picture? Training the assistant on diverse data set. But for that, we should have that diverse data set. We talk about in the context of India, we have different language, different cultures, right? So there should be equal representation of that in the data set, and then we can say that okay, this particular thing is inclusiveness, right? AI system. So that's why we are trying to develop our own data set, right? Indigenous data set here. So we'll be discussing in the second session about this particular thing to ensure it works well for the users of all accent and dialect. Okay. So this is about the inclusiveness. So whatever we have discussed up till now, it's basic principles of responsible AI. And if you observe one a thing here, in the responsible AI thing, we always say data set. Here also we say minimizing the error. Here also we say data collection. So all this principle deals with what? The training data, how it is tested, right? So reducing the error. So everything deals with this data and reducing the error. So what should we do to follow this particular principle? We'll be discussing that. But before that, let's discuss few more principles, right? Sustainability. Now, why sustainability? Like if you see nowadays, as we are collecting lot of data, we require data centers. If we want to train our AI model, we want more compute power, right? So it is going to take more energy, right? So it should be energy efficient. So the AI development and deployment should consider environmental impacts and prioritize energy efficient solution. So if you see a non-sustainable AI example, training massive AI models without optimizing for energy efficiency, contributing to a high carbon emission here, right? So no one is talking about the sustainability part here, right? So there should be some mechanism to track this sustainability part as well, because it will lead to a high carbon emission because it requires a lot of energy, right? So energy efficiency should be comes into a picture. Now, what does responsible AI tell us? Using energy efficient data centers or optimizing algorithm to reduce computation overhead. So we should look for such scenarios, right? So this is also very important when we say we want to deal with or we want to train our AI model on a large, massive data. So sustainability is a part here. Okay. Now, human-centered design. So here you can see a sector-based approach, right? So these are the few principles we can apply everywhere. But for example, in the case of healthcare, right? So how this uh, human-centered design comes into picture? AI should augment human capabilities and ensure that human remains in control of critical decisions, right? For example, medical treatment or even surgeries. So nowadays, AI robot are doing the surgeries, right? So again, who is responsible if they uh, unable to do the snitches, right? So who is responsible for that, right? So without consulting a doctor. So this should not happen. So what responsible AI tell us? What is human-centered design? implementing AI system that assist the doctor by providing recommendation. But the final decision should be taken by the human expert only. This is what a human-centered design is. So these things has been put under a high risk category by European Union, okay? Because it deals with the fundamental right of a citizen. So we'll be discussing that. Again, ethical use. So we like whatever we have discussed, these are the principles for responsible AI, but ethical use. Even the companies follows all the principles. Let's say there is no biasness, everything is good. But can we sure that the users that are using the AI system is for ethical purpose only? What if they are using for creation of deep fakes here, right? So again, AI should align with societal values and can be used for beneficial purpose. So unethical use is like for creating a deep fakes to spread misinformation, right? So if you see in any election, this deep fakes and this misinformation because of that is very high, right? So if you see on social media, everywhere information to for their political thing, right? To manipulate the behavior of a person. Again, like if we say this spreading of misinformation, so we have the different social media companies, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. We are talking about like countries are talking to they should do something to stop this misinformation. Why the companies are not doing that? Okay, they are such a big tech giants. They can easily uh, they can easily find out which is the deep fake or which is the misinformation, but they are not doing that because it will going to reduce the engagement part. If you see engagement on social media, it's mostly because of this misinformation, deep fakes, or some other activities, right? If they remove such things from the user base or from the social media, it is going to reduce the engagement part. And if the engagement is reduced, then the revenue will get reduced, right? So even though they can do this thing, but they are not doing that because of this reason, right? So there must be some proper rules and regulation to avoid such things, right? So company should legally bind to do such things, right? Here we are just talking about the in terms of social media, but what if AI does the same thing, right? So who is again responsible for that? So again, responsible AI is what? Employing AI to create educational content, detect fake news. Instead of creating a deep fake or spreading a misinformation, we should use the AI to detect the fake news, right? Or improve the accessibility of a people with disability. So this is basically ethical use of AI, right? So this is what we have discussed up till now, the principles of responsible AI here, right? Now, accessibility. So AI system should be accessible for everyone. Simple as that, right? So AI chatbot doesn't support a screen reader. So excluding the visual impaired user. So what we should do? We should design a chatbot that integrate with assistive technologies, ensuring the inclusivity, right? It's not like that every company has to follow every principle, but at least try to achieve that, right? So this is what accessibility is. Okay, so up till now, what we have discussed about responsible AI. Any questions regarding this? Anyone? Okay. Uh, uh, no. Okay, great. So let's see how the organization are implementing this principle, right? So researchers have done their research. We should follow these principles in order to avoid such issues. But what organizations are doing, how they are implementing these principles. So if we talk about organizations like yeah, like Microsoft, Google, IBM, they have adopted this particular framework based on this principle to foster trust and accountability in AI. Even if you talk about the Infosys, they have something called Infosys Topaz. So they are working on responsible AI thing, right? So Infosys Topaz has a different department by name Responsible AI. So how they are implementing these particular principles? So we'll try to understand with the help of Microsoft what Microsoft is doing here. Now, if you know, Microsoft is providing their AI services on the cloud platform that is their Azure, right? So they have their Azure AI services and also other AI services they offer as a as a service, right? Now they have launched with this particular thing, responsible AI dashboard. If I build some application using their AI services, whether my application is following those principles or not, for that they have comes up with the responsible AI dashboard, right? And what it consists of? What are the components of that? Model debugging, business decision making, and like I already said in the previous few slides, if we see the examples of responsible AI's principle, everywhere we're talking about the data, error, right? So reduce the error, training data, testing data. So here comes the concept of model debugging. Okay. So error analysis should be there, data explorer, model overview, fairness assessment, whatever the AI system that we have built, is it fair or not? Model interpretability and counterfactual what if, right? So these are the few components of model debugging. Again, decision making is what? Casual analysis, then counterfactual what if, right? So what are these? Let's try to understand one by one. So this is how the responsible AI of Microsoft is working, right? So in terms of first component is model debugging, right? So so they have a different options like also a services as a part of service. So identify the error, right? So there is error analysis, identify cohort with high error rate versus benchmarks, whatever the benchmark we said, and visualize how error rate is distributed. So it will help us to identify the biasness in the model, right? Again, fairness assessment. It will evaluate the model fairness by exploring a variety of model performance based on the different metrics, right? So this is what a fairness assessment is. Diagnose, model interpretability, counterfactual analysis, and what if, exploratory data analysis. Counterfactual means what? For example, let's say a loan application system denies my loan, right? So they should also provide the counterfactual statement that okay, if you do this, like if your income is 500 or 5,000 more, then we should have approved your loan, right? So this is a counterfactual analysis. Okay, so AI system should able to give me that particular thing. Mitigate unfairness mitigation and data enhancement, right? So this is how the model debugging works in the case of responsible AI dashboard of Microsoft. Again, decision making. So whatever the changes we are going to do, it is going to affect the decision making process. So understand the data well. So whatever we said, the problem we have biasness, fairness, right? So that comes when we take care of this data. So for that, exploratory data analysis is very important. And what are the inform actions like casual inference, and then we have counterfactual analysis, right? So these are the few things like that Microsoft provide for their AI services, right? So responsible AI dashboard by Microsoft. If you are interested in exploring more, you can simply Google responsible AI dashboard by Microsoft. So you can read more about this. So I have just discussed one example here because this Microsoft is offering AI as a services. So here we should know what are the things they're offering for responsible AI as well, right? So this is about the responsible AI and how the organizations are doing implementing these things. Even in fact, Infosys is also doing the same thing, but they have a different department. They are not providing the AI services. I think it's B2B, not for any consumer like directly. So maybe they have taken a different approach, right? So this is how the Microsoft is doing for their consumers, like who are going to use their AI services, right? So this is about the responsible AI thing now. Now, whatever we have discussed, what responsible AI does at level of requirement engineering. Okay, explainable AI. So we'll discuss that. We'll come to explainable AI. Yeah. So here you can see like in the previous few slides, we have discussed about the transparency, right? I wanted to know the reason behind why this particular decision has been made, right? So if I talk about the example of that loan process, we have this AI-based loan approval system. If I give my data as an input, and what if that my application got rejected, right? So I wanted to know the reason why it got rejected. What are the factors that affect this particular decision, and what should I do next? What should I do next, right? So again, these are the few questions that we should answer. If instead of AI, if this human expert is present, so he should be able to answer all those things. But if AI based is rejecting my application, then I should know why, reason behind that, what are the factors associated with that, what should I do next. Again, next time also, it will give the same output, right? If we didn't provide the reason for this, then people is not going to trust the AI system at all, right? So for having the trust and ensure the transparency, here comes the concept of explainable AI. Okay, so we should build trust and transparency. Our AI system must be transparent. Okay, so let's discuss what are the techniques that we should follow to get this thing, to make our AI system more transparent. Okay. But before that, let's try to understand what is this explainable AI this. So I hope this example is clear about the explainable AI. As name suggests, give me the reason behind your like why you make this particular decision. So that is what the explainable AI is. It refers to a method and tools that makes a decision-making process of AI system understandable to humans. It helps the user comprehend how and why AI system made a specific prediction or decision, right? Addressing the issue of black box AI system. Black box means what? Like a system who is giving some output but don't know the reason behind why it generated that particular output, right? So black box AI system that operate without transparency. So when we see the context of responsible AI, we are talking about the trust, accountability, and the transparency that can be taken by this explainable AI. So explainable AI is nothing but the branch of, or we can say it is a part of responsible AI only, right? So by making AI decision more transparent and understandable, XAI build trust and ensure the accountability and facilitate the regulatory compliance. So if we know the reason behind a decision taken by this particular chatbot or any AI system, we can find out who is accountable for that, right? So I wanted to know the reason. Also, it is essential to ensure the trust. So trust is a bigger part, right? People are not going to trust the AI system if they uh, don't give the reason behind that particular thing, right? So that's why this explainable AI is very important for building trust, accountability, and fairness in AI system, especially in the high stake areas such as healthcare, finance, and legal system. Okay, so because these three are the ones we require a domain specific knowledge here, expert here. Okay, so that's why these are the critical sectors we say here. Okay. Yeah. So any question? We have one question. Model interpretability. Okay. Model interpretability and explainability. Okay. So let me write down here. Yeah. Interpretability. Interpretability. And we have explainability. That deals with the explainable AI, right? Explainability. Okay. So please forgive my handwriting. So what is interpretability here? So it's ability of a system to understand how it is working, right? If suppose we have a AI system here, right? I know that how this AI system is working, how it's going to generate the output, how it's going to make a decision. So I can easily interpret this particular AI model. That is what interpretability is. So I know the inner working of a model here. Inner working of a model here, right? So I can say this model is interpretable. But explainable is what? I wanted to know, I wanted to understand why this AI system has taken this decision. Why AI system has taken this decision. Okay. So both are different things here. Interpretability and explainability. Right? So interpretability means what? I know that how this AI system is working. Okay, how working of this inner working of this particular model. But if I talk about a specific instant, right? So local instant here, I wanted to know why this decision has been taken by this particular system. So here comes the concept of explainability. Okay, so it deals with the few machine learning concept as well. We are not going into that, but it is a simple case of interpretability and explainability. Okay. So we'll be discussing that part as well here in the upcoming slides. Yeah. Or yeah. Okay. I hope this thing is clear, right? Okay. Great. So building trust. So why explainable AI is important? To build the trust, right? So as a human, I want to understand how the decisions are made. Otherwise, I'm not going to trust any system, right? So building trust is very important. Yeah. Again, regulatory compliances. So many laws and regulation like GDPR requires organization to provide explanation for AI-driven decisions. So what I talk about the Article 17, right to forgotten. Similarly, in GDPR, Article 15 or 14, I don't remember, but 15 or 14, it talks about right to explainable, right to explain. Something deals with the explain part, okay? So in GDPR, they have this particular article as well. So every citizen of European Union should have legal right to understand why this particular decision has been made. Okay. So many laws and regulations require organization to provide explanation for AI-driven decisions. And if we know why this decision has been made as a developer, so it will be easier to meet this compliance part. Okay. So that's why this explainable AI is very important when we talk about the rules and regulation, because it's mostly we need to prove that our AI model is safe enough. And how we are going to prove? And how we are going to prove? By showing, okay, this decision has been made. These are the few factors we have considered. So you can say our model is not biased, right? So our model should be able to explain the why that particular decision has been made. Okay. So it will help us to in regulatory compliance as well. Error identification. So helps identify biasness or error in AI models. Yes. Accountability, right? So it ensures developer and organization can take responsibility for AI decisions. If I know how that decision has been made by the AI model, so there is some mechanism to find out who is accountable for that. Whether it's a developer or a company or a user has given some particular prompt or misused that particular system. So if we have this responsibility thing there, explainable thing here, then we can easily find out who is accountable for that, right? So whatever the principles that we have discussed in responsible AI part, so most of the thing taken care by if we know why this decision has been made, right? Same thing what we have discussed earlier in those three first slides, right? I wanted to know the reason behind why that AI chatbot has manipulated the behavior, why self-driving car has not able to recognize the person and has made the accident, right? Why the Gemini has given such a response. So everything comes with why, and why is what explainable AI. So we want our AI system to give why they have made this particular decision. That's it, right? So this is what we have discussed. Okay, what is explainable AI, why it is important. Now, as a developer or as an engineer, what are the approaches to reach that, right? So there are two approaches. So first one is what? Anti hoc approach. Second one is what? Post approach. Post hoc approach. Now, as name suggests, anti hoc approach and post approach, right? So while designing the AI system, so while designing or developing AI system, I am understanding how this particular decision has been made. Okay. So at every level, I'm going to trying to understand how this decision has been made by this particular system. So this is anti hoc approach. So during development of phase only, we're trying to understand why the AI system has making this particular decision. And what about post hoc? Once we develop the AI system, and now we're trying to understand why this decision has been made. Okay. This is basically a post hoc approach. So we can say a developed system here, right? Developed system. So this is what anti-hoc and post-hoc things. So post-hoc means what? Once my AI system is developed, now I want to understand why this decision has been made. And here we are trying to understand at every level how the decision has been made during the development phase itself. So anti-hoc and post-hoc approach as name suggests. But how we can find out? How we can do that? So here we have few techniques. So that is, we have a retain technique here. So reverse time attention model here. Then we have BDL, bias theorem based on Bayes theorem, Bayes deep learning. So these are the few techniques. If we use, we can find out why system is doing making this decision at every level. But the most famous approach is what? Post hoc thing. Once we develop the AI system, then we are trying to understand why that decision has been made. So we are mostly following this post hoc approach, because if we follow this, it may happen that the purpose for which we are building that system, right, that may that may not fully satisfied if we try to understand why that decision, right? But once we meet our requirement, right, then we are trying to understand how this AI model is giving the answers. So for that we have few different techniques such as lime and sharp. So we have other technique as well, lime and sharp. You can explore more about this. So everything in the explainable AI deals with these two technique, lime and sharp. Okay. So here you can see anti-hoc approach is what? This approach incorporates explainability into AI model during its design and development phase only. So explainability is inherent built into a model structures and operations, right? So we should go for this, but uh, it maybe it will not, uh, you know, socially like economically possible to build a system at when like at every phase we need to understand why it is developing the decision, right? So it may take much time and more complex can be things, right? So that's why we most of the time go with the post hoc approach here. Now what is post hoc approach? It involves training a model as usual, adding explainability technique afterward once we have trained or developed the model. So primarily using testing or deployment phase, we try to understand why this particular decision has been made. Okay, so it focuses on interpreting already trained models. So as name suggests, post hoc and anti hoc approach. These are the few methods retained and Bayesian deep learning. For anti hoc and for post hoc, we have lime and sharp and few other thing as well. Okay, these are the few approaches that we follow in is in explainable AI. Okay. Now, what are the key concept of explainable AI? So, someone talk about the interpretability and explainability, right? So, what is interpretability here? So, how easily a human can understand a decision made by the system, right? So, like I know the inner working of the model, how that model is working. So for example, decision tree model, right? So I know how we can easily interpret that particular model because the decision follows a clear path. If this is true, then do this. If this is false, then do this, right? We know the clear understanding of how that AI model is working, right? But what is global versus local explainability? Now, when I talk about the global explainability, so as name suggests, understanding overall functioning of AI model across all the data. I know that if I use this particular system and I know what is the output and also the reason behind this, if I consider the entire data set into a picture, right? So global explainability. But what is local explainability? For a specific data set, for a specific input, I want to understand how the AI model made a specific decision for an individual case. So that is what a local explainability is. If I say the example of that same AI based loan approval thing, right? So global explainability is what? I know that how this model is taking a decision. For example, I know that credit score, then we have high like income, then we have payment history and few other factors corresponding to the this particular individual, right? So based on that, this AI model will give the answer. But when I talk about the local explainability, when I talk about the local explainability, here for a specific data point, if I give my data as an input, now I want to understand why that particular model has taken the decision for that particular individual case. That is a local explainability. Global means what? For entire data set, how that model is working. So I know these are the factors responsible for that. Okay. So maybe for different individual, different factors have more, what we can say, importance. For few people, credit score is good, but income is less. For other individual, credit score may be bad, but income is very high, right? That type of thing can be there. So I want to understand at the local level here. This about the local and global explainability. Again, feature importance. So what are the features? Like identifying the most influential factors or features in decision making process. So out of this, which one is more influential factor? Whether it's a credit score or a income or my a payment history, which one is more important to taking in making that particular decision? That is what a feature importance is. Okay. So this is what we have discussed, the key concept of explainable AI thing here, right? Interpretability, explainability, and feature importance. Now, the techniques in explainable AI. So, what are the techniques? Like I already discussed Live and Sharp. So, let's try to discuss that thing in detail. So, what is Sharp here? Shapely adaptive explanation here, right? So, what it does, it quantifies the contribution of each feature to the prediction for a specific instance. Let's say, for example, uh, yeah. So, let's say, for example, I will take the example of cricket. We have these five bowlers, let's say Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Siraj, Shami, then Ashwin and Jadeja, right? And they have taken the 10 wickets of the opponent and we have won the match. Bumrah has taken 5 wickets, Siraj has taken 2 wickets, Shami 1, Jadeja 1, Ashwin 1 like this. And I have say 1 lakh rupees for the winning prize. I want to distribute among those 5. Now what should I do? Shall I distribute 1 lakh individual like equally among all the 5 bowlers based on their match based on the match winning performance? No, I want to find out who is that bowler who make a significant impact in the winning, and for that bowler I will give some more thing here, like more money to that particular bowler. So what this shape will do, it will take that feature. So now we are saying these are the individual features that making that particular decision of winning, okay, winning the game. Now, what this shape will do, it will take the Jasprit Bumrah or the one feature, try to understand the importance of that in this decision making. Then, except Jasprit Bumrah, they will take the 4 other features, again try to find out the impact of their in the winning. Then they will go for combination of Jasprit Bumrah with Shami, Bumrah with Siraj, Bumrah with Ashwin Jadeja like this. Again, the multiple combinations of all the 5s, right? And then they will try to understand which are those, like what is like who are the individual who contribute to a winning more. It is possible that Bumrah has given say 120 runs in 10 overs and took 5 wickets. It is also possible that Mohammad Siraj just took 2 wickets, but in 10 overs he has just given 8 runs and 2 wickets, right? So who is most influential here for the winning performance? That is what we need to decide. And this shape works on the corporate game theory. Okay, so we'll not go into a mathematical thing. So you can explore more about this, but I hope you understand how this SHAP works. Okay. So in the context of loan application, SHAP can be show how much each factors like income, credit score contribute to a decision. So once I use this technique, I will come to know that which are those particular factors contribute to that particular decision. Okay. So if I let me erase this part. So now I'm replacing those 5 ballers with 5 factors. Let's say income is the one. We have credit score, payment history, let's say family income, okay, and let's say any other business or anything, right? For predicting the loan application. Now I wanted to know out of these 5 features, how does it contributing to my decision? If a AI model said that I'm rejecting this application with say confidence score 80%. Confidence score means what? Like there's a 80% chance that this particular loan will get rejected. So how it contribute to other factors as well. So the income plays a major role or credit score plays a major role. So by using this particular sharp technique, we'll be able to identify how much each factor contributes to this particular decision. Okay, it may happen that income contributes 50%, credit score 40%, payment history 20%, or let's say 5%, 5% like this. Okay, so it depends on the requirement or a case. So this is how this sharp works. So just as of now, just understand that it will help us to find out how much each factor contribute to a particular decision. So here I will come to know that if my loan get rejected, So these are the factors contributing to your rejection, and this is a how much, like in terms of percentage or in terms of weightage. So this is what sharp is, and this can be used for global as well as local explainability, both the things. Okay. Now this is about the sharp. What about the lime? Local interpretable model agnostic explanation. As name suggests, local interpretable model agnostic. When I say model agnostic means what? This is applicable to any model, any AI model. Okay. So we have two things, model agnostic and model specific. When I talk about model specific, so that particular technique is applicable to that model only. But this LAM is applicable to any model. Similarly, Sharp is also a model agnostic. We can apply this to any model. That's why these two are more famous techniques, Sharp and Lime. Okay. So what it does, how this lime works now. Now we have discussed about the sharp. It works on the game three, like what we have decided how much each factor contributes, right? Now what this lime, how this lime works. So it builds a simple interpretable model around a specific instant to approximate the complex AI model behaviors. Now what is this here? Let's try to understand. Let's say a classification problem. So this is also classification problem, right? Approve or reject the loan. So let's say we have this different data point, one with circle, one with X, like this, okay? And I'm drawing this classification line here. Now, if I take a new data point, let's say here, okay? Now, this is the overall uh, model, like classification thing. But if I zoom this and if I take a proper view of this here, I can do like this data point here, but here, if we go at a local instant, it can be treated as a linear here, even though here we have curve, but if I go at a local instant, it can be treated as a linear line here for that particular instant. So how we are going to do that? So here it is a complex model. But if I focus on that local instant, I can convert this complex to a linear model. And now we can build a simple model around this. So that's how it says, build a simple interpretable model. Linear model is simple and interpretable around a specific instant, around this particular instant to approximate the complex model behavior. Now, once I analyze the behavior of this particular data point by using a simple model, then I can apply this to a complex behavioral model. Okay. So example, like for fraud detection system, line explain why particular transaction was flagged. So again, flag or not flag classification thing, right? So this is how line works. Now here you can see the factors contributing to that particular instant, right? In the terms of sharp, lime deals with building a simple model and then try to analyze the behavior of that particular model. So which is the factor that contribute most to the decision, that specific decision, that's what the lime tells us. Okay. So these are the few things about sharp and lime. So when we talk about explainable AI, please try to explore more about this sharp and lime. Okay. Now then we have other few techniques for specific purpose. So here you can see silency map. So it can be used in a image recognition thing here, right? So if I talk about uh, example, so it will help us to highlight the areas of an image that AI model considered most important for its decision. Okay. So if we talk about X-ray or CT scan, so in medical imaging, a silency map can show which region of X-ray the model used to detect a tumor. Okay. So not only, okay, this particular like if we give the input, it should not tell us, okay, it is a tumor having or not. It should also tell us on which region, based on what region you have decided that this particular person is having tumor or not. So that input should be given to the human expert. So that is what silency map is. And then we have counterfactual explanation, like what I have said, provides alternative scenario where the model's decision would be changed, right? So for example, if your income were $500 higher, your loan would have been approved, right? So this is what a counterfactual explanation. This is also enough good enough to uh, build a trust on AI system. If I know what is the factor affecting my application, if I know what should I do next, so that is good enough to for any AI model to build a trust or bring transparency in the model, right? So that's how this techniques in explainable AI. Okay, so you can just explore these two, sharp and live. Many things are there inside this. Understand the mathematics behind that. Okay, so that will be easier. But the concept in the explainable AI is this only. You need to just explore more about sharp and live and few other techniques in explainable AI. That's it. Okay. So this is what we have discussed. Any question here in the chat? Let me check. Any question up till now what we have discussed? Okay. Okay, great. Now, challenges in explainable AI. So what are the challenges in explainable AI? Let's say, for example, you have given me explanation about why you reject my loan, but I am not satisfied with that. Okay. It may also happen. So how to deal with this issue, right? So what are the challenges? Again, complexity. So advanced AI models like deep neural network are inherent difficult to interpret. Yes, if we have a complex model, so it is difficult to interpret. Trade-off between accuracy and interpretability. So simplifying models for better explainability can reduce their performance. So if I draw one matrix here like this, let's say it is accuracy, it's a interpretability, complex model, simple model. Okay. If we talk about the simple model, it is easily interpretable, but accuracy is not there. If we talk about the complex model, accuracy is good, but not easily interpretable, right? So there's a trade-off between accuracy and interpretability. So how to deal with this issue? We need to think about that. Subjectivity. Different stakeholders. This is what I am saying. Developers and end user may require different types of explanation. What if the explanation given by the AI system, I am not satisfied with that, right? It is subject to the individual, right? I'm not satisfied with that particular decision. Now, do we have any other mechanism for this, right? So we need to think about that also. Subjectivity part, scalability. Again, providing a detailed explanation for every decision in real time can be computationally expensive, right? So making every decision for every specific instant will be computationally expensive. So again, scalability, again a cost factor will be there, right? So these are the few challenges in explainable AI here. Okay. So this is what we have discussed up till now. The principle of responsible AI, then how this explainable AI deals with the responsible AI, and what are the principles in responsible AI we can adhere to that principle if we follow these few techniques. Okay, if I know the reason behind why that decision has been made, there are many questions that can be solved. It can be fair, it can be transparent. Again, I can find out accountability. Again, I can reduce the error. So that's why the concept of explainable AI is gaining importance nowadays. Okay, so yeah, any question here? Okay,
Participants,
I
if you
think,
have any questions, kindly clarify with sir.
yeah, you can simply put in the chat. Okay. So this is what we have discussed up till now. But this is a thing that we have discovered. So you have the technique you can follow. These are the principles you should adhere to that. You should follow that. But how we can ensure that the organizations are going to follow these principles? What if they are saying we are following this principle, but actually they are not? Right? So there should be some governance thing there to keep a track of all those things, right? So what happened in when internet launched in 2000? Because of that, this digital literacy and digital divide happened, right? And many companies didn't come up with the proper law. So because of that, I mean, digital divide happened, right? So this should not happen. Again, the trusting and transparent issue is there, right? So we should have some proper rules and regulation so that organization should implement this thing, right? It should not happen what happens in the case of Facebook. Unless the GDPR comes into picture, they are not providing what data they are collecting from us. The moment GDPR come into a picture, they started, okay, this is the data we are collecting. If you have any issue, you can forget, or you can simply remove that data, right? So that's how these rules and regulations are very important. We cannot say that simply providing this other technique you can follow, but why they will follow, right? Again, it will affect their cost, maybe decision making process as well, right? So it is going to affect their business. So what are the different global approaches to the AI governance? So we'll be discussing that, right? So I will just introduce few approaches what we have, like what is there globally going on as of now to bind this. It should be a binding thing that company should follow this particular principle, right? Do we have any question? The silency map and shape matrix are looking same, but yeah. So if you talk about silency map, it deals with the image recognition thing, right? So yeah, image recognition also. And shape matrix also, like we can apply to this image recognition, but it may not give the proper answer, right? But it works well when you have such factors, right? So yeah, so you can say like that. Yeah, correct. Yeah. Is user-centric requirement engineering for exponential comes under the subjectivity challenge? Uh, Maybe I don't have proper answer for this, but yeah. So subjectivity is a big picture if we talk about the user-centric requirement here, right? Because it depends on the user, right? As an Indian, we don't think about how my data is going to use by the companies. But if you talk about the European people, they think about that and they file the cases on the companies also, right? There are many instances, but we don't care about how my data is going to use by these companies, right? So yeah, we can say like that. Okay. So yeah, these are the few techniques we should focus on for explainable AI thing. Then yeah, now there should be some governance kind of thing so that companies should implement all those things, should adhere to this particular principle. So ethical AI thing, right? Now, what are the different global approaches to this particular thing? We're going to discuss that, and in the next session, we'll do that thing. Okay. So, see, when we talk about the different global approaches, there are many countries trying to put some regulation. Like if we talk about the US, they have started with their organization is NIST. They have given AI risk framework. Okay, so it's a framework, not any legally binding thing, not any proper act. So they have given the risk frameworks. Again, US executive order is there for AI governance. They have also focuses on the principles that we have discussed. Then we have OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. So few countries are part of that, and they have also given few principles for AI part. Also, I've just read the news last week. Singapore is also planning to bring some AI regulation in their country, right? So few few countries are working toward that, and we are going to discuss about European AI Act. This is the world's first kind of proper binding rules for the AI companies. Okay, so we'll be focusing more on that. But before that, we should discuss about small this thing as well. And if you talk about in the context of India, we have something called National Strategy for AI. So it was launched in 2018 by Niti Aayog, right? It's just the framework, just the basic definition is mentioned, what is there and all those things. Doesn't make any sense. Then nowadays, India is working on national AI mission. So under this particular national AI mission, we are focusing on all these aspects. So entire thing what India is doing in the AI field is comes under national AI mission. So we'll be discussing that in the next session. Okay. So let's discuss about what are the different global approaches to AI governance. Yeah. So how to incorporate the stage of human life cycle? Yeah. So most of the things, like when we talk about the explainable AI, so during the testing and deployment phase, we generally do that. Okay. So what are the different global approaches to AI governance? Yeah. So let's discuss. So these are the few principles of AI governance. Now, if you understand the principles of responsible AI, same thing are here as well. So that's why we have spent around half an hour on understanding about the responsible AI principle, because we are not going to discuss that thing in detail now here. Okay. So what they have given, value-based principles. Okay. So inclusive growth, sustainable development and well-being, human rights and democratic values, including fairness and privacy, and transparency and explainability here, right? So this is given by OECD. Okay. uh, the principles for AI governance, robust security and safety, and then the accountability. So these are the value-based principle the organization should follow. Then there is recommendation for policymakers. What are those recommendations? So investing in AI research and development, yes. So like country want to invest more in AI research and development. So there is a war who is going to lead in this particular AI field, right? So investing in AI research and development, fostering an inclusive AI-enabled ecosystem, yes, shaping and enabling the interoperable governance and policy environment for AI, right? These are the recommendations for the policymakers given by the OECD, and building human capacity and preparing for labor market transition and international cooperation for trustworthy AI. So these are the few principles given by the OECD. So you can simply go through that. Okay. So value-based principle recommendation for policymakers. So OECD has given this in 2024, like in the early year, like Jan or Feb, something. Okay. Now this is about the OECD. Now what US is done here. So we are not discussing about the NIST framework, that is a risk management framework, but what executive order has been released by the Biden government. So this is what it is. There are few key principles, like what we have discussed in the case of responsible AI. Same things are there: safety and security of AI system, balancing innovation and competition, worker support, consideration of AI bias and civil rights, consumer protection and privacy, and federal use of AI and global leadership on AI. So similar to the responsible AI principle, just they have added incorporate more principles in their objectives, right? These are the few types of obligation that US has suggested, right? So it is just an executive order, not any binding law or any act here as of now. Okay. But they are thinking to come up with something called Ministry of AI. Okay, so different ministry for AI. So maybe uh, they are thinking about that. Okay. So this is what about the executive order, and yeah. So next is about why European AI Act. So this is what we are going to discuss in the next session. Okay. So whatever we have discussed up till now, that is so like that is the reason behind why we need to have the rules and regulation, and how this act, and this a legal binding act, can comply with this particular principle, right? So we'll be discussing about the European AI Act here in the next session. So that's it from the session one here. Yeah. If you have any question, you can simply ask.
Participants, the session is open for queries. So either kindly try to unmute yourself or put it in the chat window. I think it's better even if you put it in the chat window, it will be easy for us.
Yeah, I will simply go through that.
Is it because we have 141 participants online? Probably
Yeah.
two people even unmute, it become very noisy. So
Yeah, you can simply put in the chat.
dear participants, kindly post your queries in the chat window.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll be discussing about the European AI Act and why we are studying this. Okay, why there is need of studying this, we'll be discussing in the next session.
It seems like they are not raising the query, sir. Probably, I think they have the great clarity of whatever you have explained. So, yes, there is a question from Sony, madam. How do we research on subjectivity challenges?
Subjectivity challenges. See, if we use chat GPT, sometimes they will give two responses, right? Preference 1, preference 2. Now, which preference you like, we need to select that, right? That is what human reinforcement learning. So there's a human touch attached to that. So it is not a one day kind of thing. As the technology will get evolved, you need to take a feedback from the human. Okay, so it's a feedback based thing. Whether you understand this particular uh, decision or sorry explanation given by the uh, any AI system or not, or what you are expecting. So maybe they will bring something human factor into that. So yeah, you can look for that particular thing. So research on subjective challenges, yes. So how we can bring the human factor in this particular case.
So we have the other question from Kalaimani, madam.
Yeah, yeah. So
How do we research on disease in machine learning?
how do we research on disease in machine learning? Uh, Maybe I'm not the right person to answer this, but yeah, it's like if you want to look for the resources for like how we going to do a research on disease in machine learning, I only know about how uh, this AI is going to use in the cancer detection thing. So many professors working in that. So maybe you can just go through the uh, research paper, right? So I don't have about the disease in or the healthcare thing. Okay.
There
Yeah,
is another
healthcare
question
domain.
from Parvatavartini, madam.
Yeah,
Goal of
role of grad camp.
yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think grad cam is used when we deals with the neural network, right? So yeah, so if we look for that, it will be helpful to give us local as well as a global explanation, right? So yeah, so GradCam, yes. How does ethical AI work under critical conditions such as violating a rules? Yeah, if any companies are violating any rules, so there should be proper governance for that. So user should have a proper mechanism to register their complaint, right? And there should be some proper mechanism to address that. Okay. And if you see European AI Act, we'll be discussing that they have fines for the companies who are not following, who are violating this particular ethical AI thing or the principles or the regulation that they have put, right? So under critical conditions such as violating rules, yeah, again, if we talk about the like healthcare, the critical sector, so yeah, so we need to more strict about that. And if we talk about in the context of AI Act, they are more focusing on image recognition thing. Sorry, facial recognition thing. They have strictly banned facial recognition only if it is for governance purpose, like for military purpose or for public thing, like for the internal government, they can use that. But companies, private companies using facial recognition, they are uh, they need to take approval for that. It comes under a high risk category. Okay, so facial recognition is a thing European AI Act strictly prohibited to use. Okay, so yeah, we'll be discussing that thing as well.
So
Okay.
I think there are only these many queries in the chat window, sir. So probably can we have a 10 minutes break and we'll conclude session 7 here with, and we'll get continued by the next session, session 8 by 7:30. Is it fine, sir?
Yeah, yeah. So we can have 10 minutes break and we can start at 7:30. Yeah.